Hi, my name is Kayla.
And I'm Sam.
And this is
Read
Lied,
Lied,
We
We
Winnick,
Winnick.
a YVC library podcast. Today we're going to be talking about House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the first question, unless you have anything you want to talk about first.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. This is really becoming a classic in English classes. If you paid attention in English class, you probably at least heard of this book.
Oh yeah.
And we now have it both in English and in Spanish, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and the public and students can check that out. So if you guys are interested in this book, come on down, around The Price is Right or something, and check it out. It's a really good read. Offers a lot of perspective and cultural phenomena. Okay. How does Cisneros make the collection of sketch stories, vignettes, work together as a book structurally and thematically? What is the primary conflict that forms the narrative arc of the entire book?
So what I love about this book is, if you don't know what a vignette is just a really, really short story that shows just kind of a snapshot.
Yes.
And that's how this whole thing is structured. I don't think there's a chapter that's more than 5 pages long.
Oh no, it's very short and in digestible pieces. So I mean, if you were reading it and you want to take a little break, you could wherever you wanted, which I really like about this book.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that's where we get this conflict, this struggle, because Esperanza is not the title character, but the house is the title character.
Yeah.
Esperanza is the main character, and she's kind of an undefined age, but we know she's a child.
Yeah, and she kind of grows up a little as the stories go on.
Yeah, and so we really see and not a lot of adults can write from the first person perspective of a child and make it sound legit.
Yeah, I was honestly really impressed with that, because I was she's telling it from this childish perspective, but I'm she's a convoluted way of agreeing with you. I was oh wow, I feel like an actual 10-year-old wrote this. And it was clear too, so I was this is a really smart 10-year-old.
Exactly. It reads like it's a really smart 10-year-old, maybe even younger. I'm not.
Yeah,
sure,
we're not
right?
entirely sure about the age.
Because it's not clear at all. It's just a young Latina girl growing up in Chicago,
and we're learning about her life and kind of the struggle she's going through and her thoughts as she's growing up. So I think honestly, it all works together very well for me, and I love it because you can go from one story to the next and you'll be oh, so that's what happened after that thing that happened. How she'll mention an event and then go back to it.
Yeah, she does a really good job of spinning things back. But even, if you wanted to share a piece of this, right, you could open it to any chapter and read that 2.5 pages.
Some are even just 1 page.
Yeah, and get something really, really cool from it.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. So in what ways do the house and the street influence the characters and events of the story?
So the house and the street, it's really interesting because obviously the title of the whole book is The House on Mango Street. The House on Mango Street. And from the first chapter, we get this idea that Esperanza she's the child of immigrants, right? Coming straight from Mexico to Chicago.
Yes.
And the house that they dreamed of as a family was, what the typical, quote, American dream, whatever that means. And, a really big house with enough room for everyone. And she goes into really beautiful detail about this house that she wanted. And then she says, well, that's not what we have.
Yeah, well, they had a dinky house that she hated.
Yeah, we have the house on Mango Street. And Mango Street is known for kind of being a crappy area of town.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And so when she says, we live on Mango Street, that's
it's a thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of events that happen in the story, it happens on Mango Street.
Yeah.
So in many ways, the house is the most important part of the book, even though it's important. You know what? My words are getting jumbled. Love the house. It's Sam.
Kind of like Encanto.
Oh yeah. Oh, that house was so cute. I love the missing tiles and stuff, a little bumpy bumping. But yeah, no, I think Mango Street. Obviously, it inspired this book, and she has some pretty good stories about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whew, okay. In English, Esperanza means hope. Does Esperanza's name fit her character? Explain.
I feel like that's kind of depending on how you read it.
Yeah.
Because throughout the whole book, all the whole book is her trying to figure out what life means and trying to make sense of it, which is as hopeful really as I feel like anyone can get at this point.
Yeah, and in more like literal terms, she's always hoping for a new house, new friends,
Yeah,
new clothes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much knew everything. Like,
Yeah, I would say she's a very hopeful person.
Yeah.
She has an idea of how she wants her life to be set out, and she hopes to reach that one day.
even as a child, which again, like,
Which is honestly
we don't,
really
we
impressive.
don't know how old she is.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think hope fits her perfectly.
Yeah.
And also, Esperanza is just a really cute name.
Yeah.
To what degree is Esperanza aware of sex and sexuality? What does this indicate to the reader about her age and relative maturity?
So,
I think she comes off a little immature for a good part of the book, because she'll be talking about, like, boys and stuff, and she'll be like, I mean, icky, ew, boy, kind of. But then she's like, later in the book, she's like, oh, but now I want a boyfriend.
yeah. One really specific example of this is the Earl of Tennessee. It's pretty late in the book, but so the Earl of Tennessee, like, he's a jukebox repairman.
Oh, yeah.
And so they see him.
Our dude.
They see him wandering around, and nobody can agree on what his wife looks like. Which, if you think about it for a hot second,
It's different women, not a wife.
yeah.
And just the fact that she's like, yeah, we don't know what she really looks like. I honestly feel like she's like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
Well, that's the headspace she's writing in anyways.
We never agree on what she looks like, but we do know this. Whenever she arrives, he holds her tight by the crook of the arm. Then they walk fast into the apartment, lock the door behind them, and never stay long.
Oh, yeah, a lot of
So awkward.
a lot of stands, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely telling that she's a younger person who doesn't completely understand how adult relationships work. Or how they don't work.
Basically.
From the beginning, Esperanza senses she does not want to end up inheriting her great-grandmother's place by the window, the way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow. How does Esperanza emotionally and physically separate herself from the other women? Marin, Sally, Rafaela, Minerva, Aunt Lupe, or Ruthie?
I love this quote. The way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow. And it's her great-grandma, like, would sit at the window all day.
Wishing she could do something else, be someone more.
Yeah.
You know?
And Esperanza, she tries so hard to be emotionally mature.
She wants that something more that her grandma was dreaming about.
Yeah, and physically,
I don't really know if she physically separated herself from them. Maybe she like avoided some members of her family sometimes. I know that she didn't get on with her sister sometimes because she was younger than her.
Yeah.
And she was like, other people are best friends with their siblings, but mine's too young. So I feel like she does physically separate herself from that kind of perspective, but it's not like she like leaves the house or something.
no, and I don't think she doesn't. She's too young to really go the whole like I'm gonna change my look and do all of those kinds of stereotypically girl things.
Yeah, and I know she compares herself a lot to other characters in the book, like her friends. Like, I forgot what her friend's name was, but she was like,
Friends.
She has so many friends, but the one that was like giving her advice on boys and how to move her hips, she was like, yeah, she's good at that, but I'm not. I was
which again, like that shows kind of a naivety and a younger age.
Yeah, and more of that like emotional separation.
Yeah.
Okay, can or should The House on Mango Street be categorized as a coming-of-age novel, or is it more complex than that?
See, I feel like this question is definitely like an English teacher's slant, right?
And that's why I asked it to you, buddy.
Exactly. So, can it be categorized as a coming-of-age novel? Yes, absolutely. Like
That's like the main genre that comes to my mind when I think about this book.
Yeah, the definition of a coming-of-age novel is like young person grows up over the course of the book and learns a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and as the book progresses, she gets older, she learns more how to move her hips, and she starts wanting things she didn't want earlier in the book. Like I mentioned earlier, a boyfriend, for example.
Yeah. And is it more complex than a coming of age novel? No, but
so.
But a coming of age novel can be complex.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like again, as adults, we're reading this and we're like, this is amazing. Yes, the sentence structure is like really short and choppy.
Yeah.
You can tell it's the mind of a young girl. But there is like the intelligence of
an adult,
of a woman who has a master's degree in English. Like
yeah,
literally,
no. She did her job well,
very well.
But yeah, so while it's a coming of age novel, I think it's a bit complex because we're seeing different parts of her personality and what she likes and what she wants to do as she grows up.
Yeah, which is the best. Which is the best coming of age novels.
Oh yeah, honestly, I've never really read a story structured like this. Well, I guess it's kind of based off her life, so it's not necessarily a story, but I really enjoyed it.
The vignettes are,
Yeah.
pretty rare, at least, especially back when this was written. Like,
Oh yeah, I think that came out like what, 20 years ago?
More.
Really? Oh,
Like
25th
I'm holding the
anniversary.
25th anniversary edition.
Yeah, it
so-
came out quite a bit ago.
Yeah.
Still amazing though.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that more English teachers are taking that because I know someone who has to do a book report on that.
Well, hopefully they listen to the podcast.
Right, that would be nice. Okay, discuss the role of irony in the book. To what extent does Esperanza realize the irony she presents in her stories?
Irony is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's not something I immediately thought of while I was reading.
No. Does Esperanza realize her irony? I mean, I feel like to a certain extent.
Yeah, I feel like to an extent she does.
As she's growing, she's realizing, like...
Oh, those things I said earlier in the book, maybe I don't so much believe them now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd classify it as irony, necessarily, but that's what the question said, and the question must be answered. How do Esperanza's attitudes about gender and gender roles change throughout the book?
Well, as she grows,
Mm-hmm.
her understanding of gender and gender roles change.
I think her feelings change as well.
Oh, totally.
Because she wants to be like more of an independent woman instead of like the traditional mother stay-at-home role.
Yeah, because that's all she sees.
She just sees like a traditional Mexican family, father going to work, mother staying home taking care of the kids, but she wants more than that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how she comes to that realization kind of on her own.
Yeah, I also thought that was pretty interesting. Because I think sorry, I keep interrupting you.
You're good.
I think earlier she didn't really understand gender roles. No. And then as she grew up, she's like, okay, I see this, I recognize this, I don't want this.
Yeah, which is fascinating because not a lot of people will recognize, in this case, these bad things that I saw growing up, I'm going to run away from them. Mm-hmm. So often you can kind of, history repeats itself, right? Even accidentally, you'll take on the stuff you saw when you were a child.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, book about a child is so in-depth and just beautiful.
It really is. Consider and discuss any of the following motives in the stories: loss of innocence, weakness versus strength, thoughtlessness, shame, betrayal, responsibility.
Loss of innocence.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah, because over the course of the book, she learns about sex. She learns about what it means to grow up as a woman.
She learns about death, how to handle it, because she experiences it in the story. I'm pretty sure someone she knows like just straight up dies after they fall out of a tree or something.
Yeah, no, the dude who fell out of the tree breaks his arms.
Yeah, but someone she knew just like died.
Yeah. She watches a car wreck.
Oh yeah.
And her friend Louis jacks a car.
Yeah.
And drives off, and then dude gets chased by the cops, and he wraps it around a pole or something.
Something like that. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of instances of loss of innocence.
Yeah.
As for I don't know, shame, I guess. I remember in Hair, she was discussing how the different women in her family had different hair. Yeah. And I read that a lot of women, specifically Latina or Black women, they have insecurities about their hair because of, general racism and stuff like that. And there's some parts where I think she feels a little ashamed, she wants to be something that she's not. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the last question of the night. What was your favorite short story? Or which is the one that impacted you the most?
So, one that really impacted me, I mentioned it.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
It left. It decided to hop out of the book. I knew you were looking for it.
I guess so. Oh, come on.
Flipping sounds intensify.
Basically. Anyway, I can't remember which one it is, but it's the whole little vignette is about a bunch of kids in the park, and then it just ends with dude jumps out of a tree and breaks both of his arms.
Yeah.
And that's the last sentence.
Yeah, he broke his arms. The end.
Like he breaks both arms. End of chapter. Move on.
I know. I love that. I was like, oh, abrupt, interesting. Let's rock with it. I think my story, obviously, favorite was Kathy, Queen of Cats. I just think it's so silly and goofy. Yeah. It's like, who doesn't want to be like an English Queen of Cats? You know what I mean? I was like, this is cute. This is interesting. I really enjoy it. But as for one that like impacted me, oh, it's hard. Because there's so many like substantial stories in there.
There's so many times where she just ends with a gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alicia, who sees mice. It talks about a girl whose mama died. Mm-hmm. She inherited her mama's rolling pin and sleepiness, and is studying for the first time at university. Blah blah blah. She's a good girl, studies all night, and sees the mice, the ones her father says do not exist, is afraid of nothing except four-legged fur and fathers.
I get the father part.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, it was definitely
kind of
very
random.
Cute and just weird. But yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this book. And I think it's honestly an important read. It gives you kind of like a look into someone else's culture, assuming you're not like Latinx.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot.
Yeah. Speaking as like,
two white people.
Speaking as two white people.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I mean, yes, it was written in like 85. Mm-hmm. So things have obviously changed. But it is kind of cool to see this kind of snapshot.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
the vignette you were looking for earlier?
Yeah. This is the tree we chose for the first annual Tarzan jumping contest. Mimi won and broke both arms.
The end.
The end.
Well, at least Mimi won.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would rate this book probably like a 9 out of 10.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, 10s are reserved for like God tier books.
Yes.
And I can't think of one right now. But we thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have like an amazing summer break, and we will maybe see you for the next quarter.
Yes, please come in. We are open during the summer.
8 to 3.
8 to 3.
Monday through Thursday.
Starting next quarter, we are extending our hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be open until 7 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, I believe.
Yeah.
So please come hang out.
Steal our books. We got a bunch of them in. Come check them out.
Yeah.
They need a temporary home.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.